Is that right? You know I got to love me long time. So how deep is your love? Come show me what's up.
I'm quick to let them leave. Yeah, it's a million more bad bitches, but ain't none of them bitches me. I'm quick to let them leave. Yeah, it's a million more bad bitches, but ain't none.
Police are holding 27-year-old Alonzo Hunter of Beaumont on murder charges following a Saturday morning shooting that left a 31-year-old Cove woman dead. Police were called to the 900 block of Tanner Drive shortly before noon Saturday and found Shazmeen Tashan Clack suffering from a gunshot wound. She was taken to Advent Health Central Texas, where she later died. After interviewing witnesses, police identified Hunter as a suspect. He was found at a nearby hotel and arrested without incident. His bond has been set at $500,000.
It began like so many modern love stories, a chance encounter, promises of devotion, and a vision of a family built together. But what seemed like affection soon revealed itself to be possession, and what appeared as commitment was in reality control. This is the story of Jasmine Clack, a 31-year-old mother of 5, a woman who worked hard to provide for her children, a woman with dreams and hopes, a woman who, like so many others, believed she had finally found someone who would love her unconditionally. Instead, she became trapped in a relationship that spiraled into one of the most shocking tragedies Tex would witness in early 2025. Her partner, Alonzo Hunter, a man fresh out of prison and desperate to reinvent himself, played the role of the devoted boyfriend. On social media, he painted their love as unbreakable, their home as secure, their future as bright. But behind the posts and the carefully crafted image, darker truths were festering. Jealousy, insecurity, and a need for absolute control. And then came the day when Jasmine, tired of the chaos, decided to reclaim her independence. But freedom was not something Alonzo was willing to give. What followed was a chilling sequence of online humiliation, public threats, and private unraveling. All of it documented in real time across social media. All of it leading to the final, devastating moment. 5 children were left without their mother. 1 infant girl would grow up without either parent. A community was left shattered, staring at the consequences of obsession gone unchecked. This isn't just the story of a murder. It's the story of how love can turn toxic, how warning signs can be ignored, and how the platforms we use to share our lives can become the very stage for our downfall. Before we dive deeper into this tragic case, I want to take a quick moment to ask for your support. Our goal is to grow this channel to 10,000 subscribers, and we can't do it without you. If you find value in these stories and want to see more, please hit the subscribe button and join our community. Every single subscription helps us bring more of these powerful true crime stories to light, and your support truly means the world. Thank you. Let's continue with the story. Before the chaos, before the Facebook Lives and cryptic rap lyrics, Jasmine Clack was simply a young mother doing her best to raise her children. Born and raised in Texas, she was known for her sharp personality, her humor, and her determination to create a better life for herself and her family. By the time she was 31, Jasmine was already the mother of 4 children from previous relationships. Life had not been easy, and she had faced her share of heartbreak, but she remained resilient. Friends often described her as a woman who could turn pain into motivation, someone who could laugh through struggle and still find a way to keep moving forward. To provide for her kids, Jasmine built a business rooted in spirituality. She offered tarot card readings, spiritual cleansings, and protective rituals, a trade that had grown in popularity thanks to social media. For many, she wasn't just a businesswoman. She was a source of comfort, a guide who people turned to in moments of doubt and fear. Her clients would often say that she had an energy that drew people in. Whether or not you believed in the spiritual world, it was undeniable that Jasmine had a gift for making people feel seen and heard. For her, it wasn't just a side hustle. It was her livelihood, her way of keeping food on the table and ensuring her children had what they needed. But beyond the business, there was the woman, ambitious yet vulnerable, loving yet cautious. Those close to her knew that she carried scars from her past. Failed relationships, broken promises, and the challenges of single motherhood had shaped her into someone both strong and, in some ways, deeply trusting of anyone who showed her genuine affection. That trust, That willingness to give love another chance would eventually lead her to Alonzo. When Alonzo Hunter stepped into Jasmine's life, he seemed like the answer to years of disappointment. He was 27 years old, 4 years younger than her, and recently released from prison. On the surface, Alonzo carried himself with confidence, chasing a rap career under the name Azoy, posting flashy lyrics, and speaking with the kind of intensity that could feel magnetic. To a woman like Jasmine, who had already been through so much, Alonzo's attention must have felt refreshing. He showered her with words of affirmation, calling her his queen, promising loyalty, vowing to be the man who would finally stay. In a world where so many had walked away from her, Alonzo stood out for his insistence that he wasn't going anywhere. Very quickly, their relationship escalated. Social media became the stage for their love story. They posted photos, wrote long captions about devotion, and even shared videos from their baby shower when Jasmine became pregnant with their daughter. For outsiders scrolling through their feeds, it looked like the perfect modern couple, in love, committed, and preparing to welcome new life together. In one post, Alonzo praised their bond, pointing out all the ways they were alike. He wrote about how she didn't drink, how she didn't go to clubs, how she stayed home and focused on her family, and how he matched her in those choices. To some, it sounded sweet, almost poetic. To others, there was something unsettling in his words. He wasn't simply highlighting their similarities. He was boasting about how little she left the house, how much of her life revolved around him and the home they shared. Still, to Jasmine, this was love. She had a partner who claimed to be by her side, a man who seemed to care for their growing family. For the first time in a long time, she might have believed she had stability, and for a while, they appeared genuinely happy. Videos showed them laughing, sharing inside jokes, opening baby gifts, talking about their future. Alonzo appeared doting, and Jasmine appeared hopeful. But behind the smiles and the carefully chosen posts, the cracks were already beginning to form. The first warning signs rarely come in the form of obvious violence. Instead, they hide in the details. The controlling words, disguised as affection, the subtle expectations, presented as love. With Alonzo, those signs were present from the beginning. He often spoke about how Jasmine didn't need to go out, how she didn't need friends outside their home, how she should focus only on their life together. To the untrained eye, these comments might have seemed protective, even sweet. But to anyone who has lived through control disguised as love, they were glaring red flags. One moment that stood out came during their baby shower. While surrounded by family and friends, Alonzo openly talked about wanting more children, not just the one they were expecting, but several more. He laughed, saying that as soon as this baby was born, he wanted another. Jasmine, already a mother of 4, pushed back. She told him she wasn't a baby machine, that raising the children she had was already a full-time responsibility. Her words were lighthearted, even playful, but the underlying truth was clear. She was tired, stretched thin, and not willing to keep having children just to satisfy him. But Alonzo didn't back down. He brushed off her response, insisting on his vision of a bigger family. It was more than a simple disagreement. It revealed his mindset, a desire to keep her tied to him, dependent on him, bound through more and more children. Over time, his posts online began to reveal even more of that possessive streak. He wrote things like, "No matter what, I told her I'm not going nowhere, and she's not either." To outsiders, those words might have sounded like devotion, but in reality, they were a declaration. Leaving was not an option. Still, wrapped in the glow of a new relationship and the excitement of welcoming a baby, Jasmine likely brushed these red flags aside. Perhaps she believed his behavior came from love. Perhaps she thought that once their child arrived, things would settle. But instead of peace, the relationship moved toward something darker. At first, Alonzo and Jasmine's love story played out like a fairy tale written in Facebook posts and Instagram captions. They posted declarations of loyalty, family photos, and messages of encouragement. To many, they looked like a couple determined to beat the odds. But by the end of 2024, that image began to crack. Alonzo's posts took a darker, more bitter tone. The man who once boasted about commitment now filled his page with complaints, accusations, and cryptic remarks about betrayal. He wrote about being used, about women doubling back to their exes, about trust being an illusion. His words revealed a man growing suspicious, paranoid, and increasingly resentful of the woman he claimed to love. Jasmine, meanwhile, was posting messages of her own. Subtle but telling. Posts about lies, manipulation, and gaslighting. Posts about a relationship she was trying to hold together but one that was slowly suffocating her. The public could now see what was once hidden behind closed doors. What had started as devotion was curdling into obsession. And the very platforms that had once showcased their love were now documenting its collapse. Friends noticed. Family noticed. Strangers scrolling by noticed. And all the while, the tension between them was reaching a breaking point. In January 2025, Alonso unleashed the accusation that would set the internet ablaze. He claimed that while they were together, Jasmine had been unfaithful, that she had been secretly involved with other men, including rapper Finesse 2 times. To prove his point, he didn't just make vague accusations. He posted screenshots of private conversations between Jasmine and the rapper, presenting them as evidence of her betrayal. But the reality behind those messages was not as scandalous as he made it seem. The truth was that Finesse 2 times had reached out to Jasmine for spiritual services, the very business she ran to support herself and her children. He wanted a reading, a cleansing. Their messages began as strictly business. But at some point, the tone shifted. He got flirty, asking her when they could meet, even inviting her to Nashville. Jasmine's responses were mixed, sometimes professional, sometimes playfully laughing at his advances. Was it inappropriate? Maybe. Did it prove an affair? No. What the messages really showed was that Jasmine was providing her services and at times entertaining banter she probably shouldn't have. But they did not confirm what Alonso wanted the world to believe. Still, perception is everything. And once those messages were posted online, they took on a life of their own. Memes began to circulate. People joked about phrases like, "When you going to clean me up?" A clear reference to spiritual cleansing in her work, but twisted by Alonso into something sexual. The humiliation was unbearable. Jasmine, furious and heartbroken, posted in her own defense. She wrote about being free from lies, free from manipulation, free from a man who was trying to ruin her name. She reminded people that she had supported him when he had nothing, when he was fresh out of prison, when he needed a car, when he needed stability. She had been there, and now he was tearing her down in front of the world. For Alonso, though, the humiliation seemed irreversible. The love story that had once been his proudest image was now a joke, a scandal, a betrayal, at least in his mind. His posts grew angrier, more erratic, and more threatening. He wasn't just losing control of the relationship, he was losing control of himself. And that loss of control was about to turn deadly. By early January 2025, the relationship between Jasmine and Alonso was beyond repair. The love story that had once been paraded across social media was now a bitter war, fought through posts, screenshots, and accusations. But while Jasmine was trying to reclaim her independence, Alonso was spiraling deeper into obsession. His posts grew more unstable. He accused her of betrayal, of playing games, of destroying the family he believed he had built. And then, one night, he did something that made people stop and shiver. He recorded a song for his infant daughter. In the track, titled Letter to A, Alonso poured out his pain. But it wasn't just about missing his child. It was a confessional. He rapped about arguments with Jasmine, about feeling betrayed, about the love he wanted but could not keep. His words swung between tenderness for his daughter and bitterness toward her mother. At first listen, some people thought it was heartfelt. But to those who understood the context, it was chilling. Here was a man publicly unraveling, broadcasting his inner turmoil, and tying it all to the child he claimed to love most. It was as if he was already writing his justification, already building the narrative of a broken man driven to the edge. Meanwhile, Jasmine was trying to move forward. She posted about being free of lies and manipulation, about finding peace and letting go. She spoke of still attempting to co-parent, but her words revealed exhaustion. She had given her all, and now she wanted nothing more than to live her life on her own terms. Then came the night of January 31st. Jasmine went live on Facebook. She was dressed up, makeup on, smiling. For once, she wasn't home with the kids. She was out, enjoying herself, reclaiming the youth and freedom she had sacrificed for so long. She laughed with friends, joked about wanting to dance, about drinking until she forgot her worries. But in the comments, warnings began to appear. Friends told her that Alonzo was watching. They said he had joined the live under a fake account. They urged her to be careful, to recognize the danger. Jasmine brushed it off. Maybe she thought he was all talk. Maybe she believed he wouldn't dare act on his threats. She laughed, joked, and kept dancing. But to Alonzo, sitting behind a screen and watching the woman he believed belonged to him enjoy life without him, it was the ultimate insult. The stage was set, and less than 12 hours later, the unthinkable would happen. The morning of February 1st, 2025 was like any other for the quiet neighborhood in Copperas Cove, Texas. But inside one home on Tanner Drive, chaos was about to erupt. Alonzo had been up all night. His phone records and social media posts showed the frenzy of a man unraveling. He had called and messaged Jasmine relentlessly, at one point over 100 times in the span of minutes. When she didn't respond, his desperation turned into rage. He drove to her home, the same place where their infant daughter slept, the same place where her other children were beginning their day. He pounded on the door, demanding to be let in. When Jasmine refused, when she stood her ground, Alonzo's fury exploded. Gunshots rang out. Neighbors would later say the sound was unmistakable, sharp cracks breaking the silence of the late morning. By the time police arrived, the scene was devastating. 31-year-old Jasmine Clack lay with multiple gunshot wounds. Her children were inside the home. The infant daughter, who'd been the center of their conflict, was there, helpless, forced into a nightmare that no child should ever face. She was rushed to Advent Health Central Texas, but the injuries were too severe. By the afternoon, doctors confirmed what her family feared most. Jasmine was gone. And Alonzo? He had already confessed, not in words spoken to police, but in chilling posts on social media. Just before or just after the shooting, he wrote about his anger, about feeling betrayed, about losing everything. He even wrote, almost matter-of-factly, that now their daughter would grow up without either parent. It was a digital confession, a public declaration of guilt, broadcast for the world to see. What had begun as a love story ended in bloodshed. And it all played out in real time, documented on the same platforms that had once showcased their devotion. News of the murder spread quickly. A mother of 5, gunned down in her own home, her children left in the chaos. The community was stunned, her family devastated, and online people struggled to process how a love story so public could end in such horror. Alonzo was arrested almost immediately. His social media posts, his phone calls, his very presence at the crime scene, all of it tied him to the killing. And even behind bars, he continued posting, rapping, and painting himself as the victim. To many, it was the final insult. A man who had destroyed a family still chasing clout and sympathy from a jail cell. The trial didn't drag on for years, like so many others. The evidence was overwhelming. By mid-2025, Alonzo was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. Jasmine's family, though, found little comfort. Her mother, her siblings, her children, they were left to live with the reality that no sentence could bring her back. 5 children were now without the woman who had been their center, their protector. And her infant daughter, the one Alonzo claimed to love so much, would grow up with the unbearable truth that her father killed her mother. For the community, the case became a warning about obsession, about control, about ignoring the red flags that so often escalate to violence. In the end, this story isn't just about one relationship. It's about what happens when love is twisted into ownership, when devotion becomes control, and when pride becomes more important than peace. Jasmine Clack wasn't perfect. None of us are. She made choices, some good, some questionable, but none of them justified the violence that took her life. What she deserved was the chance to raise her children, to grow her business, to keep moving forward. Instead, her life was stolen by a man who couldn't accept that she had the right to walk away. The truth is simple, but hard to face. Control is not love. Possession is not commitment. And when someone shows you early signs of wanting to isolate you, trap you, or dictate your life, it is not protection. It is danger. To anyone listening who has ever felt trapped in a toxic relationship, your safety matters more than proving a point, more than making them jealous, more than staying to keep the peace. Walking away may feel impossible, but it is always better than staying in a situation that could one day turn deadly. And to those who think love means ownership, remember this: no one belongs to you. Not a girlfriend, not a boyfriend, not even the parent of your child. Love is a choice, not a cage. 5 children will grow up without their mother because of one man's inability to accept that truth. And that is the real tragedy of this case.